Okay, I want you to picture something for a minute. Imagine you're reading a report about a group of people. They live under this regime of totally arbitrary rules. Their sleep is regulated, like they're literally told when they can sleep. Their food is rationed. They're cut off from the outside world. And their entire reality is being manipulated by just one authority figure. Now, if I asked you who I was talking about, what's the first thing that comes to your mind?
I think most people would immediately say prisoners of war,
Right.
or maybe, hostages in some kind of kidnapping situation.
Exactly. That's the logical leap. But the research we're diving into today, it's not talking about war zones. It's talking about living rooms. It's drawing a direct line from a, quote, bad marriage to the experience of being a hostage.
It is a really jarring comparison, isn't it? But when you start to break down the mechanics of it, the parallels are, well, they're undeniable. We're doing a deep dive into something called coercive control. And we're really looking at how fear is weaponized to just completely dismantle a person's sense of self.
And I think we need to stop for a second because before anyone thinks, oh, domestic abuse, I know that it's physical violence, we have to be really clear. If you are looking for a black eye or a broken arm, you are missing almost the entire picture.
You're missing the invisible cage. And that's really the aha moment in all of this research. In 60 to 80% of these cases, physical violence is not the primary weapon.
60 to 80%.
Yeah. The weapon isn't a fist. It's a carefully curated environment of fear.
That statistic is just staggering. It flips the whole popular image of abuse on its head. So our mission today is to decode what you call the architecture of fear.
Yeah.
We want to understand how it's built, how it actually traps the brain. We're going to get into some of the neurobiology, which is just fascinating, and how understanding all of this is the key to reclaiming agency.
And to do that, we have to start by redefining what we're even looking at. We need to move away from this idea of abuse as an incident, like a big fight on a Saturday night, and we have to start seeing it as a condition.
A condition. Okay, let's unpack that. The term that kept coming up was a condition of unfreedom.
Right, because if you focus on an incident, you're looking for an event, a slap, an insult, something specific. But coercive control is about entrapment. The abuser's goal isn't just to hurt, it's total domination. It's about exploiting everything, their partner's time, money, body, and completely depriving them of any independence.
He was described as omnipresent. It's just everywhere. It's the whole atmosphere of the house.
Think of it like invisible chains. The person might be technically free to walk out the door, but psychologically they are completely tethered. And a huge part of this is something the research calls the unknowable rulebook.
I found this part terrifying. The idea that you're in a game, but the rules are always changing and you don't even know what they are.
Precisely. In any other situation, even a really strict one like the military, you know the rules, you know the consequences. But here, the rules are completely arbitrary.
So give me an example, like on a normal Tuesday night, how does that actually play out?
Okay, so let's say making pasta for dinner yesterday was great. The partner loved it. But today, you make the exact same pasta, and it causes this massive explosion of rage because you know I wanted rice. The rule just changed without any warning.
And there's a huge double standard, right? The rules are only for the victim.
Oh, absolutely. The abuser is exempt. And because the rules change like that, the victim is forced into this state of hypervigilance. They're constantly walking on eggshells, just scanning for threats, trying to predict the unpredictable to avoid punishment.
And that constant anxiety, that's the condition of unfreedom. You can't even relax in your own home.
You can't.
So how do they do it? I mean, if it's not always physical force, how does one person get that much control over another adult?
It's through what the research calls micro-regulation. It is a drip, drip, drip effect. It's not one big thing. It's 1,000 tiny cuts that just wear a person down.
The examples were so chilling because they were so mundane. I mean, we're talking about controlling food or dictating when someone can sleep.
Or timing their bathroom breaks. Seriously. There were accounts of abusers monitoring how much soap was being used so it wasn't wasted, or strictly regulating what someone wears, their hairstyle.
It just sounds exhausting.
Yeah.
Micromanaging being a person. Well, why something as small as soap? What's the point?
Because if I can control your basic hygiene, I prove that you don't even have autonomy over your own body. And if you're spending all your energy just trying to negotiate the right to take a shower, you have no energy left to fight the bigger things. And then you add isolation on top of that.
Right. Isolation feels like the cornerstone here. But it's not as simple as just saying you can't see your friends, is it? It's more subtle.
It's much more sophisticated than that. It's about edging the victim out of their own life. So maybe they don't forbid you from going out. Instead, they start a huge, dramatic fight 10 minutes before you're supposed to leave for a party.
So you just don't go.
Or they lie to your family about you, so you feel too ashamed to call them.
And eventually your brain just does the math. The cost of trying to have a social life is just too high. It's easier to stay home.
Exactly. Your world shrinks. And when your world shrinks, the abuser becomes the only voice you hear. They monopolize perception. Their version of reality becomes the only reality you have access to.
And on top of that, there's deprivation. The research talked about things like flattening car tires, hiding keys.
Yes, and financial control is huge. Putting the victim on a tiny allowance, like a child, so they physically can't afford a bus ticket, it's about removing the actual tools of independence.
Which brings us to the why. Why does this work so well? I think a lot of us on the outside ask that question, why do they stay? But the neuroscience here, it paints a very, very different picture.
It really does. And this is where we come back to that hostage analogy. There's a term for this process of dismantling the self. It's called perspecticide.
Perspecticide. The death of perspective. That's a heavy word.
It is. It's the erosion of a person's ability to even think for themselves. It's not just brainwashing. It's the incapacity to know what you know. But there's also a biological hook. And it's called intermittent reinforcement.
This is the gambling thing, right? Like a slot machine.
Exactly like a slot machine. If you pulled the lever and lost every single time, 100% of the time, you'd just walk away. It's boring. But you don't lose every time. Sometimes you win.
And the win in the relationship is a moment of kindness, a good day.
Precisely. The abuser isn't cruel all the time. There are moments of kindness, apologies, what's often called love bombing.
So the abuse stops for a bit, and suddenly there are flowers or a nice dinner or just peace and quiet.
And that unpredictability, that reward schedule, floods the brain with dopamine. Then when the abuse starts again and the victim is terrified, the abuser, the source of the fear, suddenly offers comfort. And that releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone.
So your own body chemistry is basically tricking you. You become addicted to the person who's hurting you.
That's it. It's called trauma bonding. You become biologically hooked on the abuser for relief from the pain that they themselves caused. It's not about bad choices, it's neurobiology.
And while your brain's being hijacked by chemicals, your mind is being hijacked by gaslighting.
I love the way one paper described it. It called gaslighting sleight of mind, like a magician's trick.
That's good. It's forcing you to question what you see with your own eyes. I never said that. You're being crazy.
Or hiding your keys and then blaming you for losing them. The end result is you completely stop trusting yourself, your memory, your intuition. And if you can't trust yourself, you have to rely on the abuser's version of reality.
You're not even the author of your own story anymore.
No, you're just a character in theirs.
Okay, this is where it gets really frightening for the world we live in now. We have to talk about how technology has supercharged this whole thing, the panopticon effect.
Right. The panopticon was an idea for a prison where a guard can see every inmate, but the inmates can't see the guard, so you have to assume you're always being watched.
And now we carry that prison around in our pockets.
We do. We read about something called smart home abuse. Imagine an abuser who has moved out but still has the app for the smart thermostat. They can make the house freezing cold in the winter or dangerously hot in the summer remotely.
Or flashing the smart lights on and off all night long just to terrorize someone.
It's psychological warfare. And that's before you even get to GPS tracking, spyware on phones. There was one example of an abuser who linked their Amazon account to the victims just to see what books they were buying.
So if they bought a book about escaping abuse,
The abuser would know instantly.
that is the definition of no escape. And even if you do manage to get out, the control doesn't stop, does it? We have to mention legal abuse.
This is so critical. People think leaving means you're safe, but leaving often escalates the control. The legal system itself is turned into a weapon.
How? By dragging them to court over and over?
Yes. Filing endless, frivolous motions, making false reports to child services, forcing the victim to spend money they don't have on lawyers until they're bankrupt. It's about continuing the harassment long after the relationship is over.
So hearing all of this, the biology, the tech, the legal traps, it can feel hopeless. But we need to pivot to agency, because the goal here isn't just to say, look how bad it is. It's how do we fix this?
And the very first step is we have to shift our own lens. As a society, we have to stop asking, why doesn't she leave?
Right. That question puts all the blame on the victim.
It does.
The better question is, how is he stopping her from leaving?
Exactly that. Or what acts of resistance is she already doing? Because victims are almost never passive. They're engaging in what's called strategic survival. They're managing the abuser's moods, hiding a little bit of money, protecting the kids in these tiny, subtle ways.
That's such a powerful reframe. They're not staying, they're surviving.
Yes. And on a systemic level, we need to look at models like the safe and together approach. For years, the system blamed the protective parent, usually the mother, for failing to protect her kids from the abuser.
Which is just so backward. It's like asking, why did you let him do that?
Yeah.
Instead of, why did he do that?
The safe and together model flips that entirely. It focuses on holding the perpetrator accountable for their choices, and it partners with the protective parent, recognizing the safety work they're already doing. It validates their reality.
And validating reality, that seems to be the absolute key for the individual, too. If gaslighting destroys your reality, then healing must be about reclaiming it.
100%. The first step to agency is naming the enemy. When you're in it, it just feels like confusion. It's a fog. Naming it, this is not intense love. This is not concern. This is coercive control. That's what starts to clear the fog.
So identifying the triggers isn't just about what makes them mad, because that's always changing. It's about identifying the tactic.
Yes. When you can finally say, oh, he's doing that thing where he creates a crisis right before I'm supposed to see my friends, you separate yourself from the chaos. You're observing it, not just reacting to it. That's the seed of resistance.
And for anyone supporting a survivor, we have to understand the symptoms. If someone seems confused or forgetful or really defensive, that is not a character flaw.
No, it is a perfectly rational response to chronic terror. It's CPTSD. When you understand that your brain's confusion was actually a survival mechanism that kept you alive, you can stop blaming yourself. That's how you begin to restore the self.
It's about reconnecting with the person you were before the control started.
And realizing that your agency was suppressed, but it was never, ever destroyed. It's still there.
This has been a heavy deep dive, but a really important one. So to recap, weaponized fear isn't just about physical violence. It's about dominating a person's liberty.
Through microregulation, isolation, and that neurochemical trap of intermittent reinforcement.
It is a human rights violation that's disguised as a relationship. That's the bottom line. And when we talk about supporting both parties having agency, what we mean is stripping the abuser of the illegitimate power to control another person and giving the victim the support and validation they need to choose their own life.
Yes. When we recognize the patterns, we break the isolation. When we challenge the abuser's authority by naming the tactics, we begin to eliminate the disadvantage.
I want to leave you with one final thought that really stuck with me from the reading. We tend to treat these situations as domestic disputes, private family business. But if you actually look at the mechanics, the entrapment, the surveillance, the deprivation of liberty, it's almost identical to kidnapping.
It really raises a fundamental question for us as a society.
It does. How would our laws, our police response, even how we act as neighbors, how would all that change if we stopped seeing the home as a private castle and started seeing it as a place where human rights must be protected just as fiercely as they are on the street? If this is a liberty crime, why aren't we treating it like one?
That's the question we all need to sit with.